Alright folks, we've got a new Batman game in the works at Rocksteady Studios. All we know about it is that it's still years out because it's in early development, but because it's a Rocksteady game, we can assume it will be an Arkhamverse title. And today I wanted to go through 3 potential Arkham games that Rocksteady could make next. But before I do, I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you would like to see in Rocksteady's next Batman game. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe if you enjoy and would like to see more content like this in the future. So without any further ado, let's get into it. The first direction that I could see Rocksteady taking the Arkhamverse is in the form of a sequel. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was definitely a rough patch in the Arkhamverse. It was not well received by fans. Most of us who enjoy the Arkham games walked away pretty disappointed, and the game didn't sell very well. It ended up losing Warner Brothers over $200 million. With that being said, I don't think it spells the end for this continuity. The final update of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League basically retconned itself. It revealed that all of the dead Justice League members were just evil clones. The real Justice League is alive and well with the exception of Wonder Woman, who, let's face it, they could bring back in a future installment. In a future Batman or Justice League game in the Arkhamverse, there could be a whole segment of the story dedicated to reviving and bringing back Wonder Woman. Also, as pissed as I still am that they ended Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League with a motion comic, the way it ended set up a pretty compelling sequel. The Justice League, including Batman, The Flash, Superman, and Green Lantern, were taking Brainiac's ship through the multiverse to repair all the damage that he had done. It could be interesting to get a game that's a single-player Batman game, but you're traveling through the Elseworlds with the Justice League. You're going up against a much larger and more powerful rogues gallery because you have Superman villains, Flash villains, Green Lantern villains involved as well. You could have some dual-play encounters where you get to tag team with the Justice League as you fight enemies. It could be a really interesting way to go. Alternatively, Rocksteady could go in a more familiar direction by having Batman return to Gotham, reorganize the Bat family, and face a new villain like Hush or Prometheus. That would be a great way to just take the Arkham formula that worked so well in Arkham City and Arkham Knight and do a brand new game with modern hardware and software that just is the next evolutionary step of that. In either case, doing a direct sequel to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League or Arkham Knight poses a pretty major challenge in that Kevin Conroy is tragically no longer with us. None of us want to see them use AI to recreate Kevin's voice. None of us want to see some impersonator who doesn't capture the emotion of Kevin. But I do think there's a respectful and tasteful way that you could recast the role by bringing in someone like Bruce Greenwood. It is already established in the Arkhamverse that Kevin Conroy is not the only actor to lend his voice to Batman. Roger Craig Smith has voiced the character in his younger years. So bringing in an actor to voice an older version of Arkhamverse Batman, I think, could be fine if they brought in an actor who respected the role and understood the legacy of Kevin Conroy's take on this character, and who could carry this character forward in this continuity while honoring what came before. I do think there's a way you could do that, but I understand why some would be apprehensive to a recast and why it would be a controversial choice. So let's say Rocksteady doesn't want to recast Kevin Conroy, but they do want to move forward with a sequel. My opinion is that Batman Beyond would be the perfect next step if that's the case. Batman Beyond offers a wide array of new things that could be introduced to the Arkhamverse. This includes a brand new futuristic aesthetic for Gotham, a new approach to gameplay with revamped traversal and gadgetry mechanics that lean far more into sci-fi and cool tech. You could have villains from the Batman Beyond animated series like Blight and Ink and the Royal Flush Gang, and you could even reimagine certain villains that didn't appear in the Arkham games like Prometheus or White Rabbit or the Clock King as Batman Beyond more futuristic villains. Additionally, there's a lot of agency because you've removed yourself from most of the narratives in the Arkhamverse. You've jumped ahead many, many years. Maybe Bruce Wayne is retired, or maybe he's passed away from old age. Maybe he's off planet fighting Darkseid with Superman. In any case, you're switching the playable protagonist to Terry McGinnis or maybe Damian Wayne. You're getting to explore a whole new character, and you could follow up the Arkham formula pretty much as it has existed, just with that futuristic spin, or you could take a lot of new approaches to this formula. You could add a choice system with a branching narrative based on the choices you make. You could bring in the Nemesis system and have a huge amount of brand new Rogues Gallery members that are just original for this game. You could have more customization abilities, like you could choose what your Batsuit looks like, you could choose what the Batcave looks like. Maybe you get to have a companion and loyalty system similar to the Mass Effect games where you get to build your own Bat family. To me, Batman Beyond feels like a perfect opportunity to just continue doing what's been done with a fresh coat of paint, or a great opportunity to reimagine what you're doing and bring in some fresh ideas to that gameplay loop. Now let's look at another option. Let's say Rocksteady doesn't want to jump forward in the Arkhamverse into a sequel, but instead wants to go back to a more familiar era in this continuity and tell some stories that fans will be a little bit more familiar with and excited to see right out of the gate. I'm of course talking about doing a game or a set of games between the Arkham Origins era of the universe and the Rocksteady trilogy era of the universe. We obviously have Arkham Origins Blackgate, Assault on Arkham, who knows if that's canon anymore, and Batman Arkham Shadow. We have quite a few pieces of content for those early years of the Arkhamverse, and then Rocksteady's trilogy pretty much wraps up Batman's original crusade in Gotham. But there's a ton that happens in between those events that would be prime narrative real estate for Rocksteady to explore. We could get a ton of character development with the Bat family, we could see the events of The Killing Joke and Death in the Family unfold. We could see a lot more done with dual play. We could see many more gadgets and vehicles utilized. Maybe you can fly the Batwing or drive the Batboat around. We could see an expansion to Gotham City, and we could see a lot of villains that we haven't had the opportunity to face off against in the Arkhamverse yet. Like, we could see the Phantasm or Prometheus. There's a lot that could be done here, and personally, I think this would maybe be the safest direction to go. I think doing a sequel in some ways is the most interesting, but this would be very exciting as well, and it would add a lot of weight to what Rocksteady did in their trilogy. Imagine how much harder Arkham Knight's story would hit if there was like 8 hours of character development in a game for Jason Todd. This would also be an interesting place to set games that maybe we wouldn't expect. Maybe instead of just doing Death in the Family or The Killing Joke or something, maybe we get a game where Phantasm is the main villain and you're dual playing with Talia al Ghul, and we get to see the early encounters of Batman and Talia in the Arkhamverse, and we get a lot more development there. This is a bit of a side tangent, but it could be interesting to see Rocksteady follow in Insomniac's footsteps as well, with what Insomniac is doing with their Spider-Man games. We could see a lot more character development done for Bruce Wayne and his allies, and they could do a much deeper dive into the character development of this universe. Also, they could follow Insomniac by maybe doing some smaller spin-off games or some DLC in between their releases, kind of like how we got Miles Morales between Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. Maybe we get a Robin or Nightwing or Catwoman game set between 2 Batman games. That could be a fun way to have more releases consistently, but also still get those big tentpole releases whenever a new Batman game comes out. The final direction I could see Rocksteady taking the Arkhamverse is in a remake or reboot direction. This is where they'd take a lot of the gameplay mechanics and ideas of the Arkham series and reimagine them. And this could be as simple as doing what Naughty Dog did for The Last of Us Part 1, where you just go through, you remake Arkham Asylum in Unreal Engine 5, do a little bit more cleanup on motion capture, and just modernize the game so that it looks and plays like a modern AAA release. This could, however, also be a bit more extensive, like we've seen with the Call of Duty games, or like we've seen with the Resident Evil games, where they go through and completely reimagine the game from a modern perspective. We could see a version of Arkham Asylum that's twice as big in terms of map size, that has a bunch of side missions, with a story that's longer and has been reimagined, and maybe includes Catwoman as a dual play character. And, you know, maybe they move on to Arkham City and want to tell the story in a bit of a different way, and they expand the setting of that game as well. And maybe all of these games now take place a bit earlier in Batman's career, and maybe by Arkham Knight, instead of Jason Todd being the Arkham Knight, maybe it's someone completely different, and maybe he's just starting to work with Robin for the first time in Arkham Knight or something. While on paper I think this approach may sound the least interesting, in practice it seems like there's a lot they could do. It would give them an opportunity to really clean up the timeline, which is one of the biggest complaints of the original Arkham universe, is that it's just so confusing. What tie-in comics are canon and which ones aren't? How long is there between each game? Like, there's just so many things that feel a little bit uncertain. And so this would give Rocksteady a chance to go and make a far more cohesive version of this story, or tell a brand new story that just features some similar ideas and gameplay mechanics. It's also worth noting that we've seen franchises, again, like Resident Evil and now Silent Hill with the Silent Hill 2 remake, have a lot of success with this approach, where they go through and make a much more modern version of the story. And while the Arkham series isn't a super retro series or anything, it's worth noting that Arkham Asylum is well over 15 years old. Arkham Knight this year will be 10. I don't think there would be anything wrong with going back and seeing if maybe there's a new way to tell this story. And honestly, as big of a fan as I am of the original games, even if they just made the exact same games, used the same voice acting and music assets and everything, and just rebuilt the graphics from the ground up, I personally would be incredibly excited. I am such a fan of this franchise. I think that Rocksteady has a ton of potential. I know that some people are apprehensive to trust them after Suicide Squad, but I think sincerely that the change in leadership could be a good thing, because it will allow new ideas and new voices to be prevalent in this series. I felt that while Suicide Squad had a very weak story, the cutscenes were some of the best in the industry, the lighting was very good, the city was really fun to explore, so I do think that the current team at Rocksteady really has the tools they need to make a great new Batman game if they have the right story to tell. So those are my thoughts. Again, please let me know in the comments below what you think. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next one.